onto then Ireland. So obviously my hope for Ireland is that we're going to win the thing, but uh, you know, hopes are great, but let's see what's actually going to happen. Coach is Andy Farrell there. He's been put forward as the next Lions coach, but um, you know, I'd love to see him go to the Lions, having um, led Ireland to our first semi-final or final in a Rugby World Cup. That would be great to see. But Johnny Sexton, captain, obviously he's got that thing with his cheekbone, which might limit his playing time. It's very hard with Sexton. There's always the thing that, no, he's definitely fit, he's definitely available, and then the game day will turn around and he's not fit and he's not available. So we'll see what happens through the tournament with that. But I think in terms of backups, you've got Ross Byrne there and you've got young Crowley as well. So it would be actually nice to see them getting game time in big games to see what happens. World ranking is number 1. Whether they're going to be there at the end of the tournament, though, it's going to be hard to say, because if France take it again, France is so close to them, they're going to be world number 1, I feel. Last year, they finished second behind France. Last 5, they were winners, third, and then second. So, fairly consistent, finishing in the top 3. So missing out on that this year would be a big disappointment, but it's a Rugby World Cup year and Ireland's form generally falls off a cliff on it. So we'll see. Odds are 11-8. They are the favourites with the bookies, but again, I think probably taken, I'm not sure where it came from. It might be somewhere like Paddy Power or something, which would have a bit of an Irish bias to it. Fixtures, that massive game starting off against Wales and Gatland. One thing I worry about with Ireland is our adaptability within games. Generally, if a team kind of figures something out against Ireland, it takes too long for Ireland to work out a way around what the other team are doing to then come back and win the game. They're fine after the game to be able to go away to the training paddock and work on it and figure something out there. But a lot of times, if Ireland go behind in the game, they find it very hard to come back over the top of a team. And it's something I think this team has been missing. I'm not saying they don't have the ability for it. It's just that they haven't produced it very often, is a big comeback win. So maybe they're going to have to produce that against Wales on Saturday. Then they're home to France. Another huge game for them as well. Possibly going to be facing France in the quarterfinal, hosts of the Rugby World Cup. So they're going to want to have that belief going in there that they can beat them whatever happens in that Wales game to start. Away to Italy is where you're probably going to see the likes of Crowley getting a start at 10, maybe Osborne getting a run out in the centres as well. Scotland away, you'd look at the fixture and think, oh, that's an easy one, because Ireland always beats Scotland. But because I really feel that Scotland are going to be targeting that game, so that's going to be fairly difficult. And then home to England to finish. If they have a trophy to play for at that stage, I think Ireland would probably do the business. If things have gone a little bit south, it's going to be a huge test of character for them. Into the squad then, you've got the likes of Philippe Beelum, who's been in fantastic form for Connacht this year. Ty Byrne is there, like turnover machine. Jack Conan is really, beginning to come into form as well. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can force his way into the starting team. But then you have like Doris there, who could be in the 8th shirt instead of him. Furlong hasn't played all that much this year, so it's going to be interesting to see whether he's going to be fit. Cian Healy there, huge experience. He's recently as well has switched from loose head to tight head, so it's going to be interesting to see where does he play. Ian Henderson, another hugely experienced guy who could really help the team out. you got then Peter O'Mahony, who was massive, down in New Zealand last year. Andrew Porter, I think he's one of the key players for Ireland in that pack. Like, you have to keep him fit. You got James Ryan there as well, coming back into some form, and then Josh van der Fleer, the World Player of the Year, and you don't have too many players who are going to be making debuts, but you do have players on that not that many caps. Joe McCarthy has been fairly decent for Leinster in the second row this season. Gavin Coombs kind of almost rehabilitated his reputation. Like, I think he got a bit of stick for his performance against, who was it, the All Blacks 15. Yeah, he didn't play great in that game, but he's been in great form for Munster. He's like, I could see him in a tight game being brought off the bench, and this guy has an ability like hardly anyone I've ever seen to get over the line where you're battering at the line. He's the guy you want to give the ball to. He's the one that's actually going to get that last meter over and get the score. So I could see him producing a really big moment for Ireland this year. You've also got the likes of Ryan Baird, who has kind of, been playing more at 6 than in the second row this year. Ronan Kelleher, at the moment, he is an injury worry. So young Tom Stewart has been called up from Ulster. Stewart has been in great form for them this year. The only thing I would mention about him, well, two things, like positive and the negative. Positive is he has an eye for a try, kind of similar to Dan Sheehan. And the negative, though, is discipline. He can be a bit of a yellow card magnet and a penalty magnet as well. So hopefully he, if he gets on, he has a positive impact. Kieran Prendergast then has been in great form for Connacht this year too. So there's lots of young players in the forwards that could come in and force themselves into the reckoning for the Rugby World Cup. Into the backs then we got Aki there with no Henshaw. Maybe he's going to be the starter at 12. We're going to have to see what happens there. Keith Earls is back in the squad as well. Jameson Gibson Park. Mac Hansen seems like a fixture, even though he still hasn't broken double digits for caps. Hugo Keenan, solid as ever, but also he's adding tries to his game as well. Jordan Larmour back to his stepping best, forced his way back into the team. Stuart McCluskey has been in fantastic form for Ulster. Ulster, generally form fell off a cliff for about the last month or so, just bounced back there against the Stormers. But yeah, McCluskey, he's not just a big lump. He can step, he can offload. So seeing him as 12 would be nice as well. Speaking of 12s, you got Jamie Osborne there, who potentially could make a debut. He's a real stepper as well. They're kind of similar mold to maybe Gordon Darcy there. So then you've also got Gary Ringrose, who's in the form of his life coming into this. Sexton, who is, as I said, potentially a worry at 10. You got Jacob Stockdale, who I guess it's just he's got some credit in the bank, because I wouldn't have said that he would get into this team on form. If I was picking an Ulster a back three player on form, I'd probably go for Balakoon over him. But I think, Andy Farrell has faith in him that they can get him back confident and playing as well. So we'll see what happens there. You've also got Ross Byrne, who's been playing most of the minutes at 10 for Leinster rather than Sexton, and Jack Crowley from Munster, who's shown that he's no fear of coming in on the big stage and producing as well. in terms of, where are the team and what are they looking for. So they're number one ranked in the world. They've already said they don't care about that. If they were to win the tournament and as a byproduct of that to stay at world number one, well, that's fine. But really, I think they're out to. They see it as a good chance to win the trophy this year and set themselves up in good form for that Rugby World Cup later on in the year. The Johnny Sexton, injury situation is going to be interesting. And then between Byrne and Crowley, how many minutes are they going to see on the field? You've obviously got, as well, Joey Carberry was left out of the squad. And, he actually played really well for Munster at the weekend there. So we'll see, does he get a call up later on if one of those three are ruled out. We've also got an undercurrent of, there's talk of Bundy Aki maybe leaving Connacht as well. Is that going to, upset his preparation for the tournament? And then also Jacob Stockdale's form, if he's going to be, part of the team, and can they get him back in form to produce on the wing? At the moment, I think maybe it's Hansen and Lowe are like the wingers, the starting wingers, I think, for Ireland. But, the likes of O'Brien and Stockdale are certainly can do a job there. But you would rather see, I think, Lowe and Hansen, at least on current form, starting.